Reminiscence Logic says, best practices to balance the strong masculine role as well as the loving father fortress children go to.
Best practices to balance between being that
Strong
loving father.
Masculine, yeah.
Well, I think to begin with, so back to the fundamental principle. Fundamental principle is I can only reflect God the Father in as much as I'm spending time with him, knowing him, and trusting him. So I need to know who God the Father is. God the Father is not a big teddy bear. He is not a sugar candy dad, kind of guy. He's not just giving out, he's not Santa Claus, but nor is he, Hitler, or he measuring every infraction and just punishing it exactly to, so we need to find out who this God the Father is. And the only way is through Jesus Christ. He reveals him, right? But I would say just fundamentally, very practically, God the Father doesn't whine. God the Father doesn't complain. God the Father doesn't feel sorry for himself. But God the Father, what he does is when he's given a situation with his children, he deals with it. He's patient, incredibly patient. And I think that one thing that we do is dad's on the erring side of being a little bit too dominating, maybe too strong, if you will, is that we respond by reacting, and we react emotionally. And so if you're not working on mastering your emotions, which actually begins way back than just in the moment of dealing with whatever's coming to the surface, it's actually asceticism, your prayer life, your sacrifices, all of those things, right? So I think that you got to love yourself, because you cannot love your neighbor if you do not love yourself properly, right? So love God to create his commands. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Everything hinges on that as yourself. So if you cannot love yourself properly, if you love yourself too much, that's going to play out. If you love yourself too little, that's going to play out. So you've got to figure out how to love yourself and let the Father's gaze rest upon you, which means, practically speaking, every day you're in his presence, spending time in the morning, if you can, try to carve that out. That's what I've done. I know guys who do it. It's amazing if you can do that, because then you allow when you go in you allow the infusion, the grace infusion to take place. When you go in for a blood transfusion, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to understand the process. It's new blood in, old blood out. And it's like that in prayer. At first, you might be scrambling, the chattering's going on, you're trying to figure out what you're talking about. Maybe you read the gospel, but there comes a point where God is saying, relax, let's do the infusion now. New man in, old man out. Just be with me. And it's that being with him, just waiting on him, just being in his presence, that's saying, I trust you. I know if I don't feel anything here, you're going to be doing something in me that I'm not even recognizing. And it's going to come out in all my actions later on. Those who pray are those who actually are able to master their emotions in those times of, because what we're talking about is abdicating or dominating. Again, what brings out the worstness is unexpected situations. And the kid blows up at you, or your wife, does something, whatever it is. We have to be prepared for that, but you don't have to be prepared for like, oh, hey, this is what I'm going to say. This is how I'm going to react. You can't do that. But you have to become like someone. You become like the Father by spending time with Christ in prayer. And a big part of that is just resting in his presence. And I think that's one of the big things that's missing in prayer. Like I have the R's, recognize his presence. So you literally recognize God's presence. Read. So read this gospel, and this is, I wish I knew this years ago. This is a kind of a new thing in the last several years, maybe 4 years ago. I was going to prayer with my petitions. I was going to prayer with my Thanksgiving. I was going to prayer for so many different reasons. But I realized there's only 2 reasons why I should be going to prayer. To know Jesus and to become like him. So it's flipped everything around. So when I read the gospel, I'm not reading the gospel about what I should do, or am I that person in the gospel? How should I react? I'm like, what are you revealing about yourself, your character, your desire, your empathy, your power, whatever it is? Who are you, Jesus? Reveal yourself to me. I want to know you. And in knowing you, I can love you. And then I realized, looking in that divine mirror, I'm like, whoa, I'm nothing like you. Please make me like you in that area. So it's recognize his presence, read, respond. So read, reflect on that, respond, Lord, this is who I am. I'm not like you. And then rest. And just rest in him. I try to rest like 5 minutes, whatever it is, just let him in. Just let him in all my nakedness and my vulnerability. Just let him in into all those dark places and man, and then I'm empowered. You can't give, Augustine says, you can't give what you don't possess. So in order to give God, I must possess God. How can I possess God if I don't spend time with God? How can I even know God if I don't spend any time with him? Everything comes right back down to prayer, comes right back down to knowing Jesus and becoming like him.
I love that. So recognize, read, respond, rest.
Reflect, respond.
Reflect, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so when I read the scripture, it's oh my gosh, the Lectio Divina.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's just, I used to like, okay, what's that phrase? What's that passage? What's going to strike me? Now it's like, okay, Lord, what are you saying about yourself? What are you doing that reveals you? And that's the first one was recognize. Yeah. So recognize God's presence. So basically what I do is I do that bodily.
Yeah.
Theology body, the body expresses the person. So I prostrate myself and then that St. Charles de Foucauld, he has this incredible prayer of surrender. It is so beautiful. I recommend it for everyone. It's, I say, Abba, Father, I abandon myself into your hands. Do with me what you will. Whatever you may do, I thank you. I'm ready for all. I accept all. Let only your will be done in me and in all your creatures. I wish no more than this, O Lord. Into your hands I commend my soul. I offer it to you with all the love of my heart, for I love you, Lord, and so I need to give myself, to surrender myself into your hands without reserve and with boundless confidence, for you are my Father. And so that's like just beginning, okay, I'm surrendering. And so that's recognizing God's presence. Just you're here, I'm here. Okay, let's do this. And then it's reading what his son has to say about himself and his Father. And then it's reflecting on that. So you take time, read over and over, and Jesus, what are you saying about yourself here? And then it's responding to that. Wow, Lord, you are so amazing. How did you do that? I'm so unlike you. I lack so much courage. I lack so much faith. Please. And that's when I rest. Okay, Lord, just infuse me with you so I can become like you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.